So we did Peter, okay, and then we did who next?
James.
We did James, okay. We did John.
John, the brother of James.
We did so the two are brothers, James and John. So those are the third. So remember, Jesus had apostles or disciples, but he had specifically 12 for a reason, right? To counter the 12 tribes. So there's symbolism going on. There's the continuation of the old covenant to the new covenant. The old covenant was with Moses, and Moses could not. It's purely conditional, based upon obedience. But the problem with something that's conditional is we can't fulfill it. So here comes Jesus from the bloodline of Moses, who's a Jew, and he fulfills it perfectly. And to all of humanity that can never fulfill the old covenant, which is why you see wars and whatnot in the Middle East today, is that it's part of the covenant is it's conditional upon the Jewish people, But one of the conditions is you gotta believe in the Messiah. So there's a reason why practically you see like wars right before our eyes, which is very consistent with the Bible. Now, if you believe in Christ, then guess what's a new covenant? Then my obedience is not dependent upon what I'm going on a different topic. We're not even talking about the apostles. We're talking about the new old covenant in Israel. But it's true that I can't. But through Christ, this is Galatians 3. Now I have fulfilled what Moses expected and what the Jews could not, and that's the new covenant. So receive, just be, and this truth right here, to apply it takes a lifetime, because you have to go through experiences and come to this point of just receiving versus doing. We'll go into that topic in a bit. But anyways, but there's 12, and then Jesus just didn't have 12, but he had three of his closest friends, I would say, his inner circle, which is Peter, James, and John, right? And then from there you have what we say Matthew.
Judas.
All right, Matthew wrote the book of Matthew, and then we have Judas. That's 5, and then we have
Thomas.
Andrew. Right, and then we have Thomas. What else did we do? We did Philip. Right, we did Philip.
That's where I stopped.
Yeah, so last time was when we stopped at Philip, right? And then so now, what we're going to get into is we're going to do 5, and the reason why we're going to do 5 today, we're going to try. Most likely, I don't think we are because of time, but and then after the 5, because I don't think we should do 1 per, because it's only a line. It'll just mention them and that's it. And then maybe after we do the 5, we'll do the apostles after the apostles. It's just in one sitting, which is like the Apostle Paul, Barnabas, Apollos in the book of Acts. They're known as apostles. So the Catholic Church has the 13th apostle, the Apostle Paul, and they consider Barnabas the 14th. Like they have names for them. So it's we have them in our New Testament. So yeah,
You could make a book out of those recordings if you could get somebody to type it, transcript it into a book. Because I don't think they have any books like that takes each one of them individually and explains it.
Yeah. I've been thinking too.
There are people that do that, but I'm sure they charge for it quite a bit because that's a lot of work.
Yeah. I remember we went through 1 Samuel. I remember just on David, like the character of David. I remember 22 Sundays. 22 Sundays just on David, and it wasn't. We were just going through 1st and 2nd Samuel. Anyways, the apostles without platforms. Okay. We're talking about the unknown apostles or disciples that we don't really know much about. So let's go to Luke 6, 12 to 16. Luke 6, 12 to 16. Luke 6, 12 to 16. And you guys got my text as far as the photos in there, and that's mainly them and how the 5 and how they died, which none of us really know about because they're not mentioned in the Bible. But So Luke 6:12-16. Can someone read that?
One day soon after Jesus went up, if this is the New Living, is this okay?
That's fine.
Okay. One day soon after Jesus went up on the mountain to pray, and he prayed to God all night. At daybreak, he called together all of his disciples and chose 12 of them to be apostles. Here are their names. Simon, whom he named Peter, Andrew, Peter's brother, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Simon, who was called the Zealot, Judas, son of James, Judas Iscariot, who later betrayed him. 16, right? Okay, he's gone.
Yeah, he'll be right back.
That's what he said, right? 16?
Yeah, till 16. You did good.
Okay. Luke.
I apologize, guys. That's all lane. I just gotta resend it. Did Danny get raptured?
Yes, I did. Yeah, yes, I did. I'm going to do what I can for you, especially.
Sorry.
He said, "Do you know Reuben? Do you really know Reuben?" I said, "Not really, not really."
Sorry, someone who's Elaine is having trouble getting on. Kind of like, so I told her what you went through. Okay. Hopefully she gets this. Okay. Okay. So we Luke 6. Here, it's one thing is very clear, is that you have the name of the 12 disciples. Okay, you have the name of the 12 disciples, but what does verse 12 say? In these days he went out to the mountain to pray. What? And all night he continued in prayer to God. Okay? And when day came, he called his disciples and chose them from the 12 whom he named. Okay, so it's not you walk out into the Jerusalem and then you're like, wow, that guy's good looking. I'll pick him. I straighten back. I'll pick him. Like this, there was an intentionality. I think. I think he prayed all night, right? Yeah. So and it goes back to our talk on Judas. Is I kind of what we talked about is I think Judas was a good guy. I think he had a good heart. I don't think Jesus would just pick that guy's going to betray me. I'm going to pick. No, I think he'd pick 12 noble people, and it goes to show. Again, I'm going on topic again, but it goes to show that a person, at a moment can be genuinely good, noble, pure at a moment, and I think time, can corrupt a person. I think this is I think if you've lived long enough in life that you know your own heart, you know somebody else, that something happened to them, the worst, or something good, and all of a sudden their hearts start to change. And you're like, wow, they're not the same. Or you're not the same. right? If you're really honest with yourself, and you can see how the heart really just deteriorates. You know, if I'm just being honest, like I think something like divorce is, I think two people get married, and at the
They're trying to
time,
discourage people from getting married now.
oh yeah.
They're saying, "Well, just move in together. What difference does it make?"
Yeah. No, it's our marriage is a God-given institution to really structure
Have
our
a blessed home.
our sexuality. We're internal. We're existential beings, but to structure it, right? That is hi Lane.
I made it.
It worked.
Wow, what a hassle. That recording didn't help me at all.
But did oh, so you were listening to a recording? Because I heard in the background.
Yeah.
I got you.
Well, how did that come about? I mean, she kept repeating and repeating and
Well,
repeating.
Danny had the same issues. Yeah, the exact same. So I had to send it to him a couple times.
Yeah, I had to enter it. I had to enter it by hand because it was an attachment. Before, I'd click on the attachment and it would go directly to it. So I just manually entered it and it came. Yeah.
Okay, at least I got it done.
Yeah.
Who is that recording?
What's that? You're
How did I
right.
get the recording
I don't know.
instead of you?
I don't know. You're right, Elaine?
Uh,
Okay. Let's get some water.
yeah.
Something like divorce. Two people meet, they're young, they're 20 years old, and I think it's possible that, again, that there's so many different scenarios we could play, but I think there's a case where it could be they genuinely met, they're both good people. They're both noble, and all of a sudden, maybe on one end, something happened, maybe disappointment, or a thought, or a temptation that wasn't dealt with, or started, and all of a sudden, deterioration started to happen. 20 years later, they're looking at each other like, who are you? And then it's
Are you talking about divorce?
yeah, I'm just saying, there's many scenarios of divorce.
I think, doesn't it say in the Bible that if one of them wants to leave, I don't know if it specifically said the man or what, but that was okay. You can't say have a woman get mad and go out and, well, actually it's the man that divorces the woman anyway. The woman really doesn't have any power.
Biblically, yeah, that was the case.
Yeah.
That was it, and it wasn't biblical. It wasn't like a biblical thing. It was just the time. So most of human history was is a male-dominant world that we lived in.
It's just that you're not supposed to get married again.
And this was not Christianity. This is like way back before Jesus ever came. It was just the way the world was. Like, you would never find polyamory, which is like our generation today is the first generation in world history where a female can have multiple partners. We've never seen that. You go back to the Victoria era.
Like a prostitute, right?
Not necessarily, maybe OnlyFans, or like, what I'm saying is, like, you read in the Old Testament, there's like Solomon and 1,000. You see David.
Orgies and everything.
Yeah, like you see
And you
one.
get thrown in jail.
Yeah, like, this is not, we're not, but what I'm saying is, like, this is why there's marriage, is to structure this thing within us humans, right? We don't live alone. We live with 8 billion people today, right? So again, there's a practical element to it, but secularism, which is no God, no Jesus, you are on your own, or whatever, has done that. Secularism has destroyed marriage. If you want to even take a step further, maybe feminism, which to me they're all lumped together, right? So, like,
well, he has a lot to say about it. It's
like,
back here. There's
like you were saying sorry. You were saying that, like, it was mainly men who divorce, right? Which is true, but now in the United States, women divorce 70%. So it's a stat.
Well, yeah,
It's
because the man didn't want to pay.
It's a stat. It's a common stat that 70% of women in the U.S. initiate divorces, and then 90% of them are women that have graduate degrees. I'm not saying that, those are just the stats. Like what. So I'm just saying, like, times, again, like if you want to say feminism, or if you want to say what, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, this. Every generation has their own thing, right? So, but
There's about over 20 scriptures
what's that?
concerning sexuality
Yeah.
and what happens. I didn't read them, but they're just little snippets to kind of show you a little bit about what's.
Yeah. So, the apostles. Sorry, we're going.
We're talking about and get off.
Is who? So we talked about Philip, okay, and then now we're going to talk about the other ones who were named, and who are they? We see Simon, who is called Peter. Okay, we talked about him. Andrew, his brother. Okay, that's today. James. So we never talked about Andrew. James and John. We talked about Philip. We talked about Bartholomew. Okay, talk about him today. Matthew. We talked about Thomas. We talked about James, the son of Alphaeus. Okay, we'll talk about, and then Simon, who is called what? The Zealot, and Judas, the son of James. We haven't talked about, and then Judas Iscariot, whom became a traitor, and he's always listed last, which we talked about. Okay, so 5 people. Andrew, okay, that's the brother of Peter. Bartholomew, James the Less, Simon the Zealot, and also Judas, the son of James. Okay, well.
I think you've told us, but why did God have them change their name?
Who are you talking about? Peter in particular?
Yeah, there was a couple that is now called.
Yeah, so the only name change that I know is Peter.
Oh.
Yeah, out of all what we talked about, yeah. There are, we'll go into, like, for example, Bartholomew, that's Nathaniel. Like, there are different names, but it has nothing. It's either we don't know or it's a language issue.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a language thing. So Philip is a Greek name, which is why Greeks felt comfortable. He wasn't Greek. He was Jewish, but he had a Greek name. Yeah, so they felt comfortable going to him because of his name. Yeah.
Right.
So.
That's right.
So you have guys here listed, and then we're talking about, again, the guys Bartholomew, Andrew, the brother, Judas. These guys never preached or recorded a sermon that we know of today. Never wrote a book of the Bible. Never spoke more than one sentence in the Bible. Okay, never spoke more than one sentence. But obscurity in Scripture does not mean insignificance in the kingdom. Okay, obscurity in the Scriptures do not mean insignificance in the kingdom. Danny?
Which guys you talking about were never mentioned? Which ones did you say?
So the guys we're talking about today. So today we're going to do 5. We're going to try to do 5. I don't think so. We're going to have to continue next week.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah, the reason why is because these guys, so we're trying to do one apostle a week. But the truth is that we're not given a lot of information about, say, Simon, Simon the Zealot. Right, we're just not, or Andrew, the brother of Peter. Like we're not given a lot of it. It'll just say, like, some of the guys, they're really listed. The only time you hear about them is in these lists. That's it. You're not gonna. You're not. You
5 guys, you said. I don't mean to interrupt. 5 guys.
5. Yeah, 5 apostles that you're not. You don't hear much about. Like even Philip. Like last time we met was like I was stretching it. He would say like 3 or 4 lines, and then we have to. That was it, So that's what I'm saying. Like I think it'd be wise just to do it all, right? So now think of a restaurant. Okay, when I'm saying obscurity in Scripture does not mean significance in the kingdom. Think of a restaurant, the way it functions, and you are a customer and you're sitting down, and someone seats you, and they sit. You sit down, and then a waiter comes, and then the waiter you're interacting with the waiter, and then they give you the meal, and the ambiance is nice, and the food is great, and that's it. And you leave, right? And all you saw was the person that served you, all you saw was the hostess, and that's it, in the name of the restaurant. But again, there are people behind the scenes, the chefs making the meal, and people in the kitchen, people in management that you don't even know exist, right? For the restaurant to function. And it's very similar in the kingdom of God, in that there are people that you see, you hear about, but remember, this includes us too, with the apostles. Like, this is when it started, right? The kingdom of God, the kingdom of Christ, right? And I'm just saying, there are people you'll hear about, like Peter. Like, I think Peter, out of all of them, I don't know, Peter is the most famous. Maybe John, Peter or John, as far as all the apostles. But like, there's other guys you just don't hear about. But that's okay. Remember, significance comes from his doing, the cross, versus our doing, our works. Okay, and I think this is something that a life lesson that will need to be just drawn home to our hearts to really just be at peace. I think that's where the peace comes from in life, is where you can embrace your significance not from what I do, my contribution, my giftedness, versus I accept my stance, I accept my position, I accept my identity. My identity comes from his identity, from his work. Right? That's the very essence of the gospel right there. Because I think sometimes this is American or individualistic cultures. You wake up and I feel complete insignificance. So you know what I gotta work hard, I gotta grind, right? And a lot of this stuff is like, why are you doing what you're doing? And you can say provision, that's one thing, but if it's really, I gotta feel good about myself, it's a worth issue now. So now your identity is wrapped around your contribution and your accomplishments and your, right? And when it comes to the disciples, when it comes to the apostles, some of these guys don't even know who they are, right? But I don't think they were chasing that at all. Remember, I think we talked about Thomas. Thomas was not a lot in the Bible, but a lot in history about Thomas, and it's something very beautiful. Like, as far as his heart and the way he responded, he just never really cared about his own status. So, anyways, Andrew, okay. Andrew, we're going to talk about first, and you can see in that text, our text, it says Simon, whom named Peter, and Andrew his brother. Okay, so did you know Peter had a brother? Okay, so we have the bones of Peter today. Okay, it's in St. Peter's Basilica. We talked about, so we have Peter's bones, we have Andrew's bones, and we have Thomas's bones. Thomas is in India, but Peter, the Catholic Church would say he's the first pope. Right, but clearly he has a significant role in the book of Acts. But Peter has a brother, and his brother was Andrew. Okay, now not much is said about Andrew, but other than what's interesting about Andrew is that he called Peter to Christ. Okay, so Peter or Andrew, the brother of Peter, was a disciple of John the Baptist first. He was a follower of John the Baptist, and then John the Baptist called upon Christ, started preaching about Christ. Andrew heard about it, and this had to be really on like 70, 30 AD, right? Like right when the ministry of Christ started. Okay, so John the Baptist calls Andrew, and then Andrew is first converted, and then he all of a sudden he brings Peter along board too. Okay, so Andrew has some interesting roles. He's always identified as Peter's brother. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like Why?
More than Andrew.
Yeah, it's like why can't it be Peter, the brother of Andrew? Why is it Andrew, the brother of Peter? It's like It's like, imagine like, I don't know, some like Donald Trump's brother. It's
Peter
like,
was more dynamic. Oh my God.
He's more popular, I think, and known.
Well, I was always known as Barbara's little sister.
Yeah.
The teachers, I hope you're as good as Barbara. The friends, everybody. I was like,
Yeah.
So it's like Austin Swift. Do you know who Austin Swift is?
Mm.
Austin Swift.
Taylor.
Do you know who Taylor Swift is?
Yeah.
Exactly. The brother of Taylor Swift. Imagine it's like Taylor Swift, the brother of Austin Swift. You know what I mean? But it's the same concept. It's like no one's gonna be like, if you meet Austin Swift, it's gonna be like, so what's your significance in life? Well,
Yeah, sister named Taylor.
exactly. So like it just happens.
My
It's
brother's a big guy. That's
right. So a significant thing about Andrew is that he identifies the boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish in John chapter 6. He says, "Hey, Lord," and this is in John chapter 6, verse 8 and 9. He identifies him. He assists the Greek. We talked about this in John 12. So when the Greeks came, you know who they came to? Philip. This is what we talked about last week. They came to Philip because he had a Greek name. And then what did Philip do? So they came to Philip, be like, "Hey, we want to know about this Messiah." And what did Philip do? He went to Andrew, and then Philip and Andrew went to Jesus. And we all do that. We all do that, where it's confirmation bias. We need a little bit of confidence where like someone comes up to you with a question, and you kind of know, but you need a friend. They're like, "Hey," and you go to your buddy, and then you share that idea, and both of you go. And, it's one of those things. So it's in John 12, and then he was present. This is Andrew. He was present when Jesus talked about the destruction of the temple with Peter, James, and John. Okay, so in Mark 13, he talks about the future destruction of the temple, which it's still in Jerusalem till today, right? 70 AD. So this was 40 years later, as a prophecy that Jesus gave, and happened 40 years later. Okay, his not much is said other than he's mentioned. So it's Acts 1:13, where all the 12 are listed, other than Judas, and they exchange him for Matthias, with casting lots, and his death is in history. Okay, and what we know of his death is he was crucified in 60 AD, and he felt unworthy to be crucified on the cross, so he died on an actual cross, which is weird, like the X. So it's known as St. Andrew's cross. So you can see the photos. So see the guy in the photos who's crucified, and he's like this with his feet out. That's Andrew. Yeah. So that's why in the apostolic faith, like Catholic or Orthodox, they'll say that's St. Andrew's cross. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how he died in history. Yeah. So he same concept as Peter, is that Peter felt unworthy, so they flipped him upside down. Same thing with Andrew, he felt unworthy, so they made it to the X. Yeah. Which is,
He was sent a picture, right?
yeah. Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So, and realistically, that's an actual cross. Like Jesus is more of a, I don't know. There's no. Is there a name for that? There's no name for that shape. Like it's really an X. Like I don't know, but anyways.
Well, depending on which way you flip it.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
And is the top one high, or is it in the middle, or?
No. Let's go to John 1, and someone read 35 to 42.
John 1, what?
John 1, 35 to 42.
To 42. Oh, I see, okay. The next day John was there again with 2 disciples. When he saw Jesus passing by, he said, "Look, the Lamb of God." Then the 2 disciples heard him say this. They followed Jesus. Turning around, Jesus saw them following and asked, "What do you want?" And then they said, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" "Come," he replied, "and you will see." So they went and saw where he was staying and spent that day with him. It was about the 10th hour. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the 2 that heard what John had said and who he had followed Jesus. The first thing Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah," that is the Christ, "and he brought us to Jesus." Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called," what is that? Cephas?
Cephas. Yeah.
Which means translated as Peter.
Okay. So you can see that again. It's Andrew, the brother of Peter, is the first one to be called, and what did he do? Tells his brother, and this is where the name change happens. So the name change is not necessarily in Matthew 16. It's also in John 1, where he says, "Yeah, your name's no longer." He gives him a name change, right? So that's really the name change. But the thing that Andrew is known for is bringing people to Jesus. Okay, so he brings a young boy, John 6. He brings Peter, his brother, who became the major leader in Christendom, essentially, and then and he brings the Greeks. So remember, we're So again, he's known for that. So faithfulness is always about words or recognitions. It's about connecting people to Christ. So not a lot is said. He doesn't have a lot of words that are not a lot of words, but he connects people. He connects people to Jesus. So serving, I think connecting people can change lives. So you have Andrew, Peter, and then you have the Church of Rome. That connection right there. Okay? So again, this is Andrew, and again, he's the brother of Peter. Okay? Now we have Bartholomew. Okay, next. Any questions with Andrew? No? So, and this is what we're going to have to go through, is like not a lot is mentioned of some of these guys. It's going to get more quiet as we continue. Now, Bartholomew. Oh, and the debate is he Nathaniel? Okay. Most scholars believe they're the same person, Bartholomew and Nathaniel. Now, he's mentioned and all the. So here's the thing: is that when it comes to Bartholomew, he is mentioned only in John's Gospel. But when it comes to Bartholomew is mentioned in all the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. But when it comes to John's Gospel, it's only Nathaniel. Okay, so again, when you have the list of 12, it'll say Bartholomew. So if you guys want to read that, all the lists will just say Bartholomew, kind of what we read in Luke 6. Okay, but then you go to John's Gospel, and there's no mention of Bartholomew. There's only mention of a guy named Nathaniel that also mentions him in the 12. So when Jesus was breaking bread at the end, and he confronts Peter, he mentions he mentions Nathaniel. Okay, so a famous passage where Nathaniel is mentioned. Let's go to John 1. I think we kind of read. And someone read 45 to 51. I guess it's a continuation. 45 to 51.
It says here that Bartholomew was also possibly known as Nathaniel.
Yeah.
If you said that, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. So, So the reason why, okay, so when you read the list of 12, okay, in Matthew, Mark, or Luke, it is Bartholomew. So I'm still on Luke 6 right now. So it says Simon, whom he named Peter, Thomas's brother, James, and John, and Philip, and Bartholomew. You see that? Mm-hmm. But then you read John's Gospel, his name is not there at all. but a guy named Nathaniel is. So there's an interchangeable, most scholars will say Bartholomew was Nathaniel. Okay?
It says here, Philip found Nathaniel. Were they related or friends or?
We're going to go there right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's go to John 1. And someone read 45 to 51.
Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses is in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out from Nazareth?" Philip said to him, "Come and see." Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him and said of him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." Nathanael said to him, "How do you know me?" Jesus answered, "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you." Nathanael answered him, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God, you are the King of Israel." Jesus answered him, "Because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these." And he said to him, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven opened and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man."
So this is Nathaniel. Okay? John 1, 45 to 51. And he's also mentioned in John 21, 1 to 3 at the very end. So this is where he confronts Peter, like, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" And these are disciples. Okay, so you have here, this is his only line. This is Nathaniel. What's his only line? What good thing can come out of Nazareth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quoted a lot.
Now, this is not hard-heartedness. This is just honesty. Okay, I think a lot of us could be honest. We can say there's places in this world. There are locations in America. There are locations in California. You would say the exact same thing. You're like, what good thing can come out of, and you name the nation. And I know some of us have nations in mind. It's just we want to be nice, right? But like, or like a location, in America or California, it's like, what good thing can come out of like Lake Elsinore? Come on, right? It just, or like you've had experiences wherever you go and you say the same thing. I've been to Nazareth too, and like there's nothing special about it. Like it's the same, right? When I was driving by it, and I was in Israel a couple years ago, I was saying the same thing. I was like, wow, what good thing could come out of Nazareth? I'm quoting this only line. This is his only. This is why, like, imagine we spent 1 hour on this line. What good thing could come out of Nazareth, right? But that's it, right?
Is that prophecy? Is that the line by Bible prophecy? Did he come where the Messiah would come, or just from where he was born?
Yeah, I don't think it mentions. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's a prophecy about Nazareth. I think the only prophecy is Bethlehem, Malachi,
Yeah.
Malachi 5:2. Yeah. So, but again, I don't think he's trying to be rude or I think he's just being honest, right? I think he's just being honest, and I think to him he's going to go to the Jewish, probably Jerusalem, or you know what I mean, some place like where it'd be known for a Messiah, like a kingly, to come out of. So again, I think he's just being honest. But again, look, how does Christ respond to him? Right? He come and see. Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him and says, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." Okay, so again, this goes to show that I think Nathanael was a good guy, right? Christ said, "This guy has no deceit in him," right? So I don't think Christ came to his disciples and be like, not good. Like, no, all of them were good. All of them were good. And I think Nathanael, this is the only time we can really hear anything personal from him, right here. But so God knows the heart before the hands do the work. He knows your heart before the hands do the work. Nathanael did absolutely nothing. They didn't know each other. There was no I was his roommate. I spent 5 years with him. There's nothing. We went on a mission trip together. No, he just met him and he knew he was of good heart, even in the midst of honesty. You know, I think we could mistaken politeness for godliness. I think sometimes some of us do that, but politeness could also be a means of being dishonest, mainly. And I think he was just trying to be honest here. Like, come on, like what? Right? So, anyways, but my point is that. So again, here's the Nathaniel Bartholomew is what I'm saying. It's like you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, okay, and it mentions Bartholomew, as far as the 12. You go to John's, and there's no mention of a guy named Nathaniel. You go to John's Gospel, it doesn't say anything about Bartholomew, but it talks about a guy by the name of Nathaniel. You see that? On top of that, we know from history that Nathaniel died by being skinned alive.
Oh.
Okay, and you can see it in the photos there too. There's a statue in Italy, in Milan, in Italy, of him without skin. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's on your it's in your photos. That's so.
Yeah,
again,
right here.
That's Nathaniel. Yeah, so that's it's a statue, but again, so we have an X cross from Andrew. We have a skinned alive Bartholomew or Nathaniel, right? So,
Who skinned him?
I believe I think he died in Turkey. I believe, yeah, modern day Turkey, that is. So the east. So again, that's what we have of Bartholomew / Nathaniel. Okay, so again, like I want to be clear about the name change. Like we're talking about name changes. I don't. It's possible different languages. Bartholomew is most likely son of. Bar is son of. So but most likely they were the same person. Yeah, because in John's Gospel, even 21, it mentions that he was with the 12, and they mentioned him as a disciple. So. Yeah. Any questions? No? Okay. James the Less. Okay. Or James the son of Alphaeus. Okay. Faithfulness without footnotes is what I wrote down. Okay. Now, I'll say James the Less or James the son of Alphaeus. It probably has the least, because we know absolutely nothing about him as far as his name is James, and the problem with that, if your name is James, is confusion, and I think out of any name there's a lot of confusion is Mary. What I mean by confusion is like you'll have a name and there's so many. This person's name, like Mary. There's Mary. When it says at the cross, he was with 5 women: Mary Magdalene, Mary of this. It's always like, but
they do it in families.
Yeah, it was.
Family up the street from us. Every daughter was Mary somebody,
Yeah.
but we just called her by the second. The first oldest one was Mary, and the rest of them were their second name.
Yeah.
But they were all. And I had a really good friend named Mary Darlene. I didn't even know her name was Mary. We called her Darlene, but it was.
So, but again, it's a comment. So the thing is with James, this is James the Less, but remember there was a disciple. We talked about James too, right? So, yeah, Peter, James, and John, right? So. Now you have it is no
James, that's the brother of John.
Yes, so James and John are brothers, and then James is we have his bones today. It's in Spain. Yeah, so remember James, we have his bones. We have Peter, we have his bones, and then we have Thomas, we have his bones. But the James was the brother of John. All right. Now the confusion of this is James the Less. Now, why is he James the Less? It's possible of just him being known, like we don't know anything about the guy. It's possible that again maybe James was more notable, at the time. But there's also another James that it's confusion. The brother of Jesus was named James, right? And he wrote the book of James. So in your Bible, when it says the book of James, that's written by the brother of Jesus, not James the Less, not James the Apostle, right? James the son of Alphaeus.
So was it James the brother that was at the crucifixion?
No, most likely
It was
not.
James and John.
Only John. So out of all the
I thought James.
So out of all the apostles, the only apostles or disciples there during the crucifixion was John. Everyone else, they did Roadrunner. They abandoned him, right? They got scared and they ran. Yeah, that's why, in my opinion, I don't know this, but in my opinion, this is why I believe it says in John's gospel, whom he loved the most, whom he loved the most, whom he loved the most. And it's like, he gave his mom to him. And history shows that. They died in Turkey, so yeah, it's a very sentimental act. When you're dying, your last moments, and you're like, take care of my mom, please. It's a very, very touching moment. So, yeah.
They were talking about Andrew, Peter's brother, right? And they're talking about, hey, you're the little brother. I guess it's better than being called James the Less.
Yeah.
The Less, it's like, okay, I'd just soon be somebody's brother than the Less. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's more of most likely it's contrasted to like James, the other apostle. That's most likely. Now
James actually wrote James, right?
So there's James, the apostle James, brother of John. There's James the Less. So there's two apostles named James. But then there's James, the brother of Jesus, so son of Joseph, if you want to say. You use the.
And he wasn't an apostle.
No, so the reason why some people speculate that James the Less was the brother of Jesus was because he was a disciple. But during the earthly ministry of Christ, none of his brothers believed him.
Because it starts off with James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ. So if that was his brother, he might have said that a little different.
Is that James 1?
James, I'm sorry, did I say John?
Yeah,
It's James 1.
It's James
yeah,
1.
so the beautiful thing about James 1 is the way he starts off.
Right.
Is so James, the book of James, this is why we have to like categorize it, because again, there's so many names, the same one. So James 1, one of the most beautiful things about James is he is the brother of Jesus. If his identity or his value came from being biologically related to Jesus, he would say, James, blood brother of Jesus Christ, born of the same mom, what do you have? Right? But he doesn't do that.
Oh, okay.
He says, servant. Right? So even right?
It was
So
to the 12 tribes scattered around the nation.
so because he's speaking to the Jewish people.
So
James is speaking about the Jewish.
I'm James, and he says who James is, and then it goes, this is for the tribes,
Yeah.
the 12 tribes.
Yeah, Jewish people, yeah.
And James wasn't at his crucifixion? His own brother?
No, most likely not. No, it's like nah.
Just John. Huh?
So John, out of all the disciples, yeah, John.
Just John.
Yeah. Now, some people speculate if Matthew, so whenever you read in the Bible, it's always like James the Less is always associated with Matthew, and some people believe that they were brothers because it says Levi is also called the son of Alphaeus in Mark 2:14. So I'm just giving you the possibilities. Most likely, it's a speculation. Okay. Yeah. So, anyway, that's James the Less.
In The Chosen, they make Matthew kind of strange.
Okay.
And that was the first time I saw his story in The Chosen, I thought that he might have been a little autistic. Only they didn't know what autistic was then. He was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I thought, why did they make him like that? Because I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
That he was a little odd.
Yeah.
Not that he was autistic, but
Oh,
they make him kind of odd.
Yeah.
So you saw it,
I
right?
thought it was a little autistic myself.
I'd be curious, so curious, because a lot of these, narcissistic, these terms that we use, ADHD,
Yeah.
this existed like 1,000, 2,000 years ago. We just never had these terms. We just never had them, But like, imagine in Christ's time, like the people who are really autistic, or that had these clinical psychological disorders, if you want to say, that we have, even though they change. Right? So now, again, this is James the Less, and again, he is Peru. This is all we know about him. Not much is mentioned other than just his names in the Bible. Let's go to Simon the Zealot. Okay, Simon the Zealot. Now, Simon the Zealot, same thing. Also, just mentioned throughout the Gospels. And now the Zealots. Okay, the Zealots were a Jewish sect. Okay, Zealots were a Jewish sect. I'm not. And here's a speculation, right? Okay, when it comes to why Simon the Zealot, and here are the two options. It's either he was a zealot, meaning a Jewish sect, and it was a Jewish sect around this time that wanted a revolt against the Roman Empire, even to the point of war, bloodshed, killing your own people, to not be under the rulership of the Roman Empire. So remember when we studied the book of Daniel? You had the nation of Israel under the captivity of the Babylonian Empire, King Nebuchadnezzar. And all of a sudden they get taken over by the Medo-Persians, King Darius and then Cyrus, Cyrus the Great. And Cyrus the Great brings them, says, you know what, go back to your homeland. And he even assists them, and then they're back. But they're still under the subjugation of them, okay? And then all of a sudden the Greeks take over, a guy by the name of Alexander the Great, okay? And then, so they're under the Macedonian rule for so long, and they disrespect them. This is why there was the Maccabean revolt that happened, okay? But they're still under their subjugation, and then the Roman Empire comes along, they take over. So it's just one kingdom after another, and then the Zealots were like, you know what? We need to rule like, and be like the good old days with King David. That's the Zealot. But it'd go to the point of like you'd actually go to war with them, right? So it's possible that he was a zealot, okay? But the thing is that what a zealot believed was the Messiah would be like Alexander the Great, would be some guy that knew how to fight, versus like carpenter, rides on a donkey, okay? Or that he was just zealous. Maybe he was just truly zealous, that we don't really know much about it as far as like his heart, his passion. Maybe there was things in the time that they knew. You can see passion. All they wrote, he's a zealous guy, but there wasn't enough information, or they did not put it down. Now, thing is with Simon the Zealot, what we do know is his death, okay, and the way he died was that he was sawn in two. Okay, so you look at the photos. There are statues of him today with a saw. And if you could look at it, I think I sent that to you guys in the photo. He's also there. I think I sent you guys two photos, and the reason why that's there is because of him being sawn in two. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's Simon.
Yeah, a saw in his hand, or yeah.
Yeah. So it's possible, in my opinion. I think he could have been part of the. He was an actual zealot. So a zealot is essentially you're a nationalist. Okay, you're a Jewish nationalist that wants Israel to be ruled by Jewish people, not the Roman Empire, and you'll do anything to go to war. So, what a group that birthed that, the Zealots, was the Sicarii. And remember, we gave Judas the possibility he could have been part of the Sicarii. The Sicarii. So, you ever hear of the assassins? We know what an assassin is. The first concept of an assassin in world history comes from the Sicarii. The Sicarii come out of the Zealots. And the Sicarii, they're known because they carried a Sicar knife. And just be this blade. They'd come in, they would kill the high priest. They would kill the legions of the Roman Empire. They'd kill their own people. Anyone that was a collaborator with the Roman Empire, they would kill them. That was of high status. That's how zealous they were, to kill their own people in order not to be under the subjugation of the Roman Empire. So that's the Sicarii. They were birthed out of the Zealots. Okay, so this is why Mossad. I don't want to get into too deep into like politics or whatever it is. This is why Mossad, they swear like the CIA or the IDF, which is the Israel Defense Force, they swear on Masada, which 970 of them died by being killed under the Roman Empire. Okay, I know there's a lot of history and whatever. I'm just sharing with you, but this, yeah, Danny.
What's Sicarii mean?
Sicarii means dagger.
It does.
Yeah.
Equals dagger. Okay, because the movie, it means assassin, Sicario.
Yes. So
in Spanish means assassin, Sicario.
Yeah, so it started with the Sicar knife, this really sharp blade, and then that it was, so essentially it was with the Jewish people. And then you have the Sunni and the Shiites. The Shiites are the smaller group of Islam. They're from modern day Iran and Yemen today, and so essentially they came up with the word assassin because they were a smaller group and they would have to kill, like this is Islam versus the Sunnis. They would try to kill an imam the exact same fashion. Then you have the ninjas in Japan, same concept of how does one guy kill a whole dynasty? How does one guy kill, and it's through the assassins. Yeah, and then Sicarii in Spanish, the whole Netflix thing is based upon assassin. So it all stems from this one group. So in history, you won't get any further than the Sicarii as far as an assassin.
Well, I was told that Sicario means assassin in Spanish. That's how they titled the movie, if you've ever seen it. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's Sicario, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the concept of it. So it's the Zealots, and what birthed from the Zealots is Sicarii. So that's why people believe that Judas was part of the Sicarii. Judas Iscariot, Sicarii. That's an option. I'm not saying that. I don't believe that. I think he's from Kairoth, but anyways. Okay. So again, Simon the Zealot cut in half. And last, but not least, okay, you know what I'm going to name? Thaddeus. Judas, son of James, and the other Judas. So there's two Judases that were apostles. Okay? There were two Judases that were apostles of Christ. This is Judas, the son of James. Again, he is known as Thaddeus too. So he has an interchangeable name throughout the gospel. Sometimes we'll say his name is Thaddeus. Sometimes and another is Jude. Okay, so you have Jude, you have Thaddeus, you have Judas. So this is Jude. This is the disciple Jude. Okay. Now,
which James, son of James? Is it a James we're familiar with?
No, that's what I'm saying. There's too many.
I didn't hear you, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's another James essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So you have the book of Jude in our Bibles. Right? That was written by the actual brother of Jesus too. Okay? Now, this Jude, Thaddeus, so we have three names, one person. We have Thaddeus, we have Judas, son of James, we have Jude, all one person. Okay? But this Jude, this last person we're talking about, and all he does in the Bible is ask one question. That's it. That's his one. We're going to read it in a bit. But he's not the same as the guy that wrote the book of Jude. That's the brother of Christ. This is not. Different. So remember, the reason why we know James, Jude, they're not brothers of Christ is because we know the brothers of Christ during his earthly ministry did not believe in him. Yeah, and then these guys did. So that's very basic. Now, let's go to John 14:22. John 14:22. We'll end here. John 14:22.
Okay. Judas, not Judas Iscariot, But the other disciple with the name said to him, Lord, why are you going to reveal yourself only to us and not to the world at large?
Can you
Go
finish?
ahead.
Yeah, finish 23.
23. Jesus replied, all who love me will do what I say. My Father will love them, and we will come and make our home with each of them.
Okay, so that's it. Jude, that's his only line in the film. You know, like if you're acting, it's like, all right, you have to say these lines. It's just one line, right? Hasta la vista, baby. It's just one liner, right? Lord, why do you tend to show yourself to us and not to the world?
It's a good question, really.
This is
at that point, right?
Well, remember, the disciples were a megaphone. They were a megaphone. Remember the context of John 14, 15, 16, 17. It's called the Olivet Discourses. Only John's gospel shows the intimacy with Jesus and his apostle in the last words. So you have Jude, or Judas, asking him that one question: why are you always coming to us and not to the world? And what happened in history is that Jesus, the content that Jesus gave his apostles, is the apostles got, and they did bring to the world. Right? They really spread that gospel throughout the Roman Empire and throughout the world. This is why today, 2,000 years ago, we have us still talking about it, and the world's still talking about it, and the world's still in need of the ethics of the person, the wisdom of Jesus of Nazareth. Right? And how do we know Jesus? We know Jesus because of the apostles. Right? So, well, the power of ordinary faithfulness. Right? These guys, I think it's probably the first time you've ever heard that, like, someone talk about, like, you know, in, like, at least go into their lives or whatnot. Right? But this is essentially the unknown apostles. And they're all mentioned in Acts 1, 13, 14. Let's end there. Acts 1. Can someone read that? 13 and 14. Acts 1, 13 and 14. Acts 1, 13, 14.
When they arrived, they went to the upstairs room of the house where they were staying. Here are the names of those who were present: Peter, John, James, Andrew, Philip, Thomas, Bartholomew, Matthew, James, son of Alphaeus, Simon the Zealot, Judas, son of James. And 14, they all met together and were constantly united in prayer, along with Mary, the mother of Jesus, several other women, and the brothers of Jesus.
All right. And then this is where, and we'll continue next week, where they only have 11. They don't have 12 because there's no more Judas. He killed himself. He hung himself. It says earlier, and then they had to cast lots like dice, and then they got Matthias. But again, they had to fulfill that role because that number 12 meant something, right? A continuation of the old covenant. So, anyways, I think from these 5, what we could say is it's not about fame, it's about faithfulness. And these guys, like, you don't really know much about them, but it's like, to me, I don't know, my opinion, this is like, as far as a human achievement, you know, it's like back in the day, like 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
I thought there was a recording coming.
What's that?
What you were talking.
Oh.
You were listening to a recording or something.
I think this is like, for a human achievement, is to be in the Bible. Come on, you know what I mean? Like when back in the day, it'd be like, oh man, do you see? I walked there like a stand-in in a film, or like, oh, did you see? I was in that movie. You know, like there'd be that. I want to be in something big, right? But I think like being in this, like that's like, whoa, you know, like your name is just, it's in the Word of God. You know, that's like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
12 in the world.
Yeah, but even just like, you
Or in
know,
their little world.
the little boy sat on Jesus' lap. If I were that boy, I'm like, yeah, that's me, yes, right?
That's,
Right?
that's
But-
my boy. That's my boy.
right? But like, I don't know, but like, they're in it, but they're not in it, and that's what I'm trying to say. Is like the disciples, the apostles, and they didn't know. Like John wrote his gospel in 98. They're all dead by then.
Yeah, I was going to say, they didn't know. Did they know there was a New Testament was going to be written?
Exactly. It's something you can't predict, but I'm just saying, like, something that you cherish throughout human civilization is like, to be mentioned in the Bible by name. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, remember me.
Yeah, right. But like, versus like a movie or a song or, I don't know. But
It's a big deal.
oh, it's
No,
huge. Yeah.
Eric Clapton, I talked to Eric Clapton, right?
Yeah.
You know what he said?
What's
Thank
that?
you. That's all he said. But, me and Eric Clapton are bros, because I said something. I said, hey, nice licks. And I was real close. And he turned around and said, thank you. So I've told everybody that, I've talked to Eric Clapton, Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Good singer.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, I think we could take this into our generation. And really young people, what I mean is like we live in an age of, the age of influencers. Like it's cut off the arts. When I say it's cut off the arts, meaning if you want to be influential, you have to be an influencer. Meaning like, if you're an actor, if you're a pastor, it's just mainstream. I'm talking about like everyone has a social media account, and you have to document. You're going to work and you're driving, but I'm saying sometimes we can get caught up into that mindset that like I need to take a photo of my like curry chicken in order for it to be real or for people to see what you know what I mean? Like it's like we need human validation for us to feel complete versus like you still had a curry chicken and you still enjoyed it, regardless if the world knew about it or not, right? And I think being a Christ follower is like the essence of like you don't need to choose or seek after human validation. It's truly about faithfulness to the mission, right? So that's what they say, living under the audience of one. Okay, so.